Hi, I'm Mike.
And I'm Shane.
And this is NFGeeks. All right, Shane, you had an interesting topic to talk about that you mentioned, and it's great because it's a very INFJ position, both as a gift and a curse, I think. You might be talking about it as the curse, I don't know. But it's something that Dave, who started NFGeeks with me, used to say. And so I'm going to say it his way, and then you can jump into what he says. He used to say that he had this judgmental laser beam of hate, where there would be something about somebody he would think is completely wrong, and he would just sort of aim it at them, and just point at it, and it's sort of like, and again, metaphorically, pointing at the thing he hates and just be really about it.
Yeah.
That's how he used to talk about it. So, so the topic, as you want to talk about it, is judgmental and the judging aspect of it. So why don't you start off and tell me what you're feeling about it, tell the audience.
All right. Well, obviously my type is INFJ, and that includes 4 letters, you know what I mean? And sometimes I feel like the J, it makes all the other letters its bitch.
That's a great way to put it. Wow.
Like the J controls me sometimes. So yeah, I definitely take the perspective of it's more of a curse. Oh. Because I feel like sometimes I'm a huge asshole. You know what I mean? And people tend to not like me because sometimes I'm so, judging. And like the laser beam thing, it's like, say I saw a flaw in a person and they asked me for advice. All right, now they're asking for it, first of all.
Sure.
They're asking for me to kick their ass, so I'm going to kick their ass with honesty. And it's that, I'll tell them what's wrong, and then they'll be like, oh, well, how do you figure it? And I'll just, keep badgering them about it, you know what I mean? And if, say, down the road, they do something again that, causes more problems, I'm like, you're still doing what's causing the problems. You're an idiot. Stop being an idiot. You know what I mean? And
well, that's interesting because one of the things, this fits into one of the things I say about INFJs, and that is that the great thing about INFJs, and this could be difficult if you're not realizing this, is that INFJs have great empathy in terms of understanding what's going on with you, but they're not necessarily sympathetic. Yeah. You can be empathetic, meaning understand, look, this is why this is happening, and this is why you feel this way, and this is the context, but it doesn't mean you have sympathy for it.
I feel like, I understand what the problem is, and I tell them what the problem is, but I'm not going to sugarcoat it. I just tell them,
that's very
I tell them what the problem is and how they need to fix it, and I feel like that makes people not listen to me because it sounds like, oh, well, you're not being understanding, blah, blah.
Yes, and that's a problem that I've heard that from other INFJs, that people think that they're not understanding when they deeply understand.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like, okay, well, I'm being a hard ass on you, but this is the reality of the situation, you know what I mean? I'm still giving you, substantial advice, and you're not taking it because it's not sugar-coated, you know what I mean? Right. You're being a baby.
Oh, that's fantastic. All right, now you said, though, it was a curse, that it was, now that seems, let me put it this way, that seems like a good talent and ability, to help people, because some people need hard things, because as a perceiver, someone who's not a J, I find that hard. I have very good empathy. The ENFPs and INFPs have almost perfect empathy. But, so I can understand exactly what's going on with a person and repeat it back to them where they're stunned. But then they ask me, what should I do? I don't fucking know.
Yeah.
I have no idea. So why do you not like it? Or not like it, but what gives you angst? What gives you difficulty?
Well, first of all, it makes people less likely to listen to me, I feel like, because
really?
they're like, well, if he's going to tell me what to do, he's just going to be a dick about it anyway, so I don't want that negativity, so I'm going to ignore it, you know what I mean? But I feel like that's unfair because, as I just said, maybe I'm being a hard ass, but it's still, there's still truth behind what I'm saying, you know what I mean? So it's, stupid for people to ignore me. That and...
That's great.
That and it's, people sometimes just don't like me or, don't want to be around me because they Well, actually, I've heard people tell me I give off this like aura of negativity. I'm like just sitting there like judging everyone. Like, okay, you're an idiot. Like, you know what I mean?
Okay, that's great because Dave, who started NFGeeks with me, also used to say, and I think this is what he was the connection. I'm making a connection here. He used to say, eventually you'll hate me. Eventually everybody hates me.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and you'll hate me too.
Yeah.
It's, you know, and that's it's so sad. He actually was kind of sad hearing it. All right, what do you think about that? Does that resonate? That connect to what you're saying?
Yeah, I definitely think that that's like true about INFJs. Well, through my experience anyway. You know what I mean? I can't tell you what other INFJs are feeling necessarily.
But your personal experience.
Yeah. I don't know. It's like sometimes, you know, it's people just, like I said, with the aura of like negativity, people, you know, don't want to be around me because I have this aura. And like sometimes my close friends will be like, Shane, you're being a complete asshole right now. Just shut up. And I'm like, but guys, and it hurts me so bad when people call me negative and like call me an asshole and stuff, because it's like the only reason why I'm even telling you what's wrong is because I'm trying to help you. You know what I mean? I'm trying like.
All the INFJs are applauding right now. I was going to say, the INFJs are saying, preach it, brother.
It's like my close friends, for example, like they'll be like, well, I don't want to talk to Shane about my problems because he's just going to be mean about it. But it's like, I want to help you. Like, I have a desire to help people. You know what I mean? So it sucks for me that people don't even want to come to me sometimes because I'll be too hard about it. Because that's something that I love doing. I love helping people too. So it's like, you know, I'm not trying to be negative. You might be taking it as something that's negative, but really in my head it's like I'm picturing the perfect you and I'm trying to help you reach the perfect you. You know what I mean?
Right. Well, that's great because, you know, NFs are, one of our values is to be a catalyst of transformation, to help transform people, you know, and that sounds like what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Do you agree?
Yeah, that's exactly it, pretty much. You know, like I said before, like with the laser, like I'll pinpoint issues in someone's life and try to get them to fix it. It's like I'm trying to get them to be the perfect person, you know, and I do this to myself too.
Sure.
So, you know,
INFJs can be very critical of themselves.
Exactly.
I can see that, absolutely.
So, you know, I'm not like freeing myself of all my negative auras, you know what I mean? That they come back on me too. So.
Sure. So Shane, when does your judging and this ability really come back and hurt you? You know, you kind of get some blowback where, you know, even though your intentions are noble, there is sort of this reaction or just emotional thing that comes back at you. What usually is it? How does it feel?
Well, I'd say like I start really realizing that the J is like overpowering my personality when I'm, you know, going so far and like people are getting upset because I'm being, you know, too much of an asshole or whatever. And like then they start being like, well, he's gonna be an asshole if I ask him for advice, so I'm gonna not ask him for advice. Or if when he's giving me advice, you know, I'm not gonna listen to him because he's just gonna be really negative about it and it's not gonna help me. And that really sucks because, you know, obviously my intentions are good. It's not that I'm just, you know, throwing these things out there to hurt people's feelings. Like, I'm telling you what the problem is and why you need to fix it and what's going to happen if you don't fix it a lot of the time. And, you know, that obviously comes true because I can fucking predict the future and shit.
Like a good INFJ.
You know, it's like people will just disregard me. And we talked about in the other episode how, you know, it's like I want to be like sage-like and I want to be that guy on top of the mountain saying, you know, life is this, and everyone's going, yeah, Shane, you know what life is because you're the man. Obviously, there's part of me that wants that, so it sucks when people are really like, well, he's negative and I'm not going to listen to him. And it sucks even more, I hate when people call me negative, you see, because I consider myself very optimistic. And the whole reason why I, you know, tell people what all their flaws are is because in my head I have this perfect image of what they are and what they could be, and it pains me to watch them like restrict themselves by, you know, like highlighting all these flaws in their personality by doing all these stupid things. So, you know, I try to help them build themselves up to that perfect person by eliminating the flaws, you know what I mean?
Sure.
And that, I guess, comes off as me being a douchebag because sometimes I put everything too bluntly. So.
All right, when Now let's take it another step, and that is, when does your judging really kind of trip you up and fuck you up? So for example, okay, so to be giving here and balanced, is that my perceiving, I'm a perceiver, so all things are sort of equal all the time, and because my judgment is not as strong like that, all sorts of things seem equal to do, and so I do sometimes things of bad judgment that I shouldn't be doing, and inappropriate things, and I do things that I just shouldn't be doing, but I'm doing them anyway because
that's why peas piss me off sometimes.
That's great. That's perfect. That and then the judging comes out. So maybe we bring it out of you. But that's my perceiving, not helping me in that sense. It's I'm choosing things that I shouldn't be choosing, and I'll tell you when it's at its worst. You can imagine, or they can imagine, as an ENFP, women. That's when it really just train just goes off the track. So when does your J become sort of dysfunctional and trip you up?
Well, obviously there's the whole thing about like people not listening to me, like we just talked about. Like that hurts me when people aren't listening to me, because obviously I want to be heard. And there's also this, like, people don't even want to be around me sometimes because it's like I'm too judgmental, or like I'll just be wicked mean for no reason.
So
there's a reason behind everything I do. That's what people don't realize. Everything I do is perfectly thought out.
Sure, the INFJs, again, they're all applauding. But okay, is what you're saying then is he saying that your judging makes you alienated? Do you feel, does it isolate you, alienate you from your friends?
Yeah.
All right, so alienation. How does judging affect alienation with you?
Well, I feel like, there's a lot of these circumstances in my life where I'll be hanging out with a group of people. It seems almost every time I'm hanging out with a group of people, actually, there'll be at least one instance where I'm arguing some point and everyone else is on the opposite side. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, well, Shane's just being an asshole right now or something like that. And like, oh, Shane always thinks he's right. Shane is always right. So, people need to learn to accept that.
Yeah, and I'm going to say it, and I'm going to get a lot of shit about this, but if they don't verbalize it, secretly INFJs think that. They say they secretly, they're just not going to be douches and say it out loud, but they think, well, I'm right. And
I'm a douche, so I do say it.
Well, you're right. Well, they might be douches too, but they when they don't say it right, they keep it to themselves. But I know enough INFJs to know that that's a commonality.
I don't know. I feel like
going on.
I'm more likely to be a dick and like say things like that in like vocalize things like that than like type them out on the internet. Like, I feel like when I'm typing things out, I try to be way more polite and like try to like sugarcoat things more really than I would if I was like in person.
Oh, that's interesting. I actually have the opposite. I have the opposite thing. In person, I'm much sweeter. But even on the forum, I will ban people permanently just because if they piss me off once and they ignore my warning, permanent ban.
Yeah.
I'm like very draconian about it,
Yeah.
No sensitivity. Just stop it. You didn't stop it. Fuck you. Go. All right. So when does let's get deeper into this. When does your judging really trip you up? Because my perceiving trips me up when I have bad judgment, for example, because when you're a perceiver, all ideas are equal, and so you end up doing inappropriate and things you shouldn't be doing. Okay, and that's particularly true with women. That's a very ENFP thing, or men if you're a female ENFP. But I find that's where it really comes out.
A gay male ENFP.
Oh sure, yeah, that's right. Yeah, absolutely. All sexualities of ENFP do things with the opposites or the same sex sexually that maybe they shouldn't have gotten themselves involved in.
Just trying to be, politically correct.
No, you're right. Absolutely, it runs the whole. Right, it runs. All the ENFPs do this. Children, I'm sure, have their own version.
Yeah.
So that's when it trips me up. My perceiving. When does your judging trip you up?
I really start to feel like it becomes more of like a curse than a benefit to me when it's like, people aren't listening to me, and people sometimes don't even want to be around me because I'm too much of a dick for them, and like it's like, oh, if I ask him for advice, then he's just gonna be an asshole. But it's really like, I want to give you the best advice possible and not have to sugarcoat it. I want to just tell you straight up what the best advice I think is.
actually, you said that perceivers are particularly annoying to you sometimes. What's why and what is that like?
Well, specifically the INFPs. It's like, I try to give them advice sometimes, and it's just like they're so weak. They're so emotionally weak.
Well, I would use the word sensitive. They are very sensitive.
And exactly, that's something that I'm probably going to be called out for being a dick. Saying that.
But you are.
It's just I'm just pure thoughts to words. That's how I feel like it should be. You know what I mean? That's what true honesty is.
Well, to kind of validate that, I've always said the INFP INFJ relationship is not nearly as good as people or the INFJ and INFP think it is. It always flies apart. I've seen it fly apart so many times.
Yeah. I have a close friend, she's a girl, who is an INFP. And, there'll be times where we get along great. And then, all of a sudden some actual problem will come up and I'll be like, you're an idiot. And she'll basically break down and cry. You know what I mean? It's like,
I have seen that between INFJ and INFP repeatedly.
Yeah.
Exactly the way you just described it.
Mm-hmm.
That's amazing.
Yeah. It's like, we can get along great as long as there's no like problem. Not even like necessarily with the two people, but like any problem at all surrounding us in any way, shape, or form. As soon as there's a problem like on the horizon, it's like there's gonna be a huge problem between the two.
Brick wall.
Yep.
Well, I can see that, but in INFP's defense, they're the most sensitive of the of us, and they get hurt a lot deeper than the rest of us. I know we all get hurt deep because we're NFs.
Yeah.
But they get hurt the deepest out of the NFs, so that's why they sort of lose it.
Yeah. I don't know. I think you gotta have some kind of backbone. You know what I mean?
They don't. It's not like that. They don't. I've logged a lot of INFP hours.
The simplest way I can put it is they don't.
Yeah, they don't. It's not there. You're not gonna find it. It's not there.
Yeah.
They don't have that shield.
Yeah.
All right. Any last words about your judging?
No, I think that's pretty much it.
All right. Great. Thank you, Shane.